If Russell Wilson's out, then Justin Fields is in. And I'm getting ahead of myself here, but that's not the kind of thing that's going to offend me. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates, the same place that you found this. Steelers versus Falcons, Sunday, 1:02 p.m. at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I'll be flying to Atlanta tomorrow to cover that for DK Pittsburgh Sports. And I might not know the time I'm boarding that aircraft who the quarterback's going to be for the visiting team. Wilson, of course, left practice yesterday on the south side with a recurrence of the calf injury that had kept him out of most of the preseason, much of training camp. And in the immediate aftermath, all Mike Tomlin had to say was that it would be reevaluated within the next 24 hours. Well, I'm not going to play doctor. I can play intrepid reporter in this scenario because I was standing by the offensive lineman's stalls as Russ walked by on his way into the shower area, and he walked by just fine. If I hadn't been aware that he'd left practice with the calf injury, and I wouldn't have known that anything's wrong with him. So, again, we'll see how this goes. But I still feel like there are some fair thoughts to share on this, just knowing what we know now. First among those, and actually foremost among those for me, is Justin Fields is ready to do this. Fields has spent more time with this offense, more time with these wide receivers, more time working behind these offensive linemen as we're speaking right now. That won't change between now and Sunday. Number two, Fields has been pretty good. Yeah, I'm not crazy about those center quarterback exchanges. 3 of those in preseason games resulted in the ball being on the ground, especially with Fields' history of fumbling in Chicago. But there's not a whole lot else that I didn't like. When it came to throwing the ball, yeah, he's a little late. But once he does make up his mind, it gets where it's supposed to go. The execution is so accurate at times that it looks effortless. You wonder why everybody can't do it. Well, everybody doesn't have that arm. 3, as long as I'm on a roll, I wouldn't mind seeing all kinds of running, regardless of who's at quarterback. I spent a lot of time with the O-line guys, as I kind of hinted at just now, and I very much get the impression from them that you're going to see Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris, Cordero Patterson, Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris. You get the idea. It's going to be pound, pound, pound. And the reason that the kids are excited, meaning the younger O-line guys, is that, well, this is the easy part. Run blocking, anyone in that profession will tell you, is the easy part. As Dan Moore said to me, keep it simple. That's going to be the approach here. I really believe that, for a slew of reasons that have nothing to do with the quarterback being hurt or the other one being, I don't know, not trustworthy or whatever. 4, looking at this from the Arthur Smith prism and nothing else. He is going to want to run the ball the way I'm describing. He is going to want to throw over the middle to Pat Freiermuth. He is going to want to spread the Falcons' defense out by occasionally gunning it deep to George Pickens. And he has a much better chance of having all of that happen if he's got Fields taking the snaps. Why? Because Fields has been taking those snaps for months now. And at the risk of repeating myself, he's done okay. 5, Russ has still shown some signs of being the Denver Russ. For those of you who don't know what that means, there's been a lot of rapid-fire checkdowns, which you never want to see from your quarterback. There's been a lot of sideways. Russ led the NFL in sideways passes behind the line of scrimmage in the 2023 season. So I'm not expressing an opinion here. I'm citing a number. I don't believe that'll accomplish much, if anything, against the Falcons, they're not spectacular up front, but they're solid up front defensively. And my belief, as I touched on with yesterday's episode, is that the best way to get to them is to wear them down. Sideways doesn't do that. Now, listen, the team practices one final time, a full practice. It begins at 10:45. It ends at 12:30. Mike Tomlin doesn't have to talk to us. He did yesterday because we as a media group requested the head coach because you knew there wasn't going to be a quarterback and because it was a significant situation in practice. He obliged. He doesn't have to do that. Remember his gamesmanship type conversation earlier this week about how he's going to enjoy having Raheem Morris guessing how much he'll have to deal with Fields? Well, he can use this too. The team is required to give injury updates. The head coach isn't. So while we can find out on the injury report that comes out later in the afternoon, and Russ was a full participant or a limited participant or did not practice at all, Tomlin doesn't need to walk over toward us and say, hey, Russ is fine. He's starting in Atlanta. And my guess is that he won't do anything of the kind, which means this can linger into Saturday. This can even linger into Sunday morning. So all I'm advising in the moment, and that's all it is advice, is don't worry about it. It might just work itself out. Up next is J1Q. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents injured people in automobile accidents, workers' compensation cases, and medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George pride themselves in doing what they say they're going to do. It's important to them that when they make you a promise, they keep that promise. And this law firm has been keeping promises for over 80 years. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has been AV rated. That's the highest rating a law firm can receive for legal ability and ethics. And the lawyers at the firm have been designated super lawyers, that's a real thing, for over 15 years. Rare combination there. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. Again, that's 888-842-5454. Today's J1Q comes from Chris. It says, DK, looking at the roster and the injuries on the offensive line, do you think the Steelers will ultimately start Mason McCormick over Spencer Anderson at guard for the simple reason that Anderson looks to be the only one who could be plugged in at tackle in the event of poor performance or injury there? Or is Troy Fautanu ready? Well, you brought up a lot of different things there, Chris. I'm going to try to go at them one at a time. And I'm actually going to start from the end because I don't think having someone available to be a spare tackle is a need right now for the simple reason, well, the kid you just cited, Fautanu, exists. And if one of Dan Moore or Broderick Jones were to go down, Fautanu would absolutely be the next option. So scratch that one off. And then bear in mind that for this week, the choice at left guard to replace Isaac Seumalo is Anderson. And before I elaborate on him, here's a fun little conversation I had with him yesterday at his stall, beginning with my asking him if he's nervous at all.
No, I'm pretty calm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a lot that goes behind the opportunity that's about to come up, but, you got to stay calm in these moments and, just leaning on the fundamentals and technique and, not make the moment bigger than what it is.
Well, let's see if I can change that. Can you picture going through the tunnel in Atlanta and having that 60-40 or 50-50 crowd that's cheering?
Yeah, obviously, it won't hit you till the time to go, but as of right now, pretty calm. Love the game plan. Love what we're doing. So, just being me. If I go out there and do something I'm not used to, or if I do something that I haven't done, this past month or two, or since OTAs, then that just be done by me.
Prince, do you feel like you were helped by the versatility, by moving around to different positions and everything? Because different guys handle that differently. You seem to handle it really well.
Yeah, it's kind of a tricky thing to do. Some people don't like it, obviously, but it started off in college with me. I started games, and then some people were only one side specific. So I bit the bullet, and even though I was like an older guy, it would be like a freshman who was our next best lineman in college, and I would bite the bullet and just move because you never want to limit the offense and what it can do. And then from then on, it was kind of like just kind of my calling card. But at the end of the day, I still feel like guard is my home. So yeah.
Guard is my home, he said there near the end. That sounded pretty definitive to me. The jack of all trades, master of none label is a funny one in professional sports, and that applies to all sports. If you're a hockey forward who can take face-offs but at the same time be the first one in on the forecheck as a winger, it's a point of pride. It helps keep you employed longer, but, you'd rather just have the one. Same thing goes for utility players in baseball. Well, football doesn't have as many of those, but you almost always find that one guy on the offensive line who's tasked with learning a little bit of everything. But then, once they get good at it, or they think they get good at it, they'd like to just stick. And they find a subtle way of saying exactly that. And that's what Spence did there. He said, guard is my home. And here's how this works. There are only 17 of these regular season games. Within those, there are only about 60 snaps per side of the ball. What you do in practice matters, but it doesn't matter anywhere near as much as what you do in stadiums. So this, and you heard Spence use this term as well, is an opportunity. If he goes out there and performs, the job's his. You stick. You tell me where that doesn't happen. And if I'm the Steelers, no, I'm not hoping for Anderson to remain available so that he can be convenient for me to deploy at different spots if needed. No. If he goes out there and plays well at left guard for however long Seumalo's out, he has made an impression. Doesn't mean Seumalo won't be right back in there when he's back, but you've put it on film. To use the football parlance, you have done this. You have shown everyone what you're capable of, and it weighs into future roster decisions and future opportunities. So, no, don't be thinking of versatility as the priority here. It's not. And I loved, by the way, every word I heard from this kid about his mindset and his approach. I just don't happen to believe him. As you could kind of tell from the conversation, he's going to be a bleeping mess coming out of that tunnel. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. Again, I'm flying down to Atlanta. Tomorrow we will have post-game content that goes up in both video and podcast form immediately afterward. And then the next Daily Shot will be Monday.